Kendall Daniels. This guy's a really good player from Oklahoma State. He's going to go just travel a little bit to the southwest into Norman. 240 tackles, 7.5 sacks in 3 years. Freshman All-American, Big 12 Newcomer of the Year. He played at Oklahoma State. He is headed to play for Brent Venables at OU in Norman.
Yeah, hey, great news for you, Craig. They also got Marvin Jones Jr., by the way. I don't know how you feel about that one. He's on his third spot.
If it's not Marvin Jones Sr., then I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm not really that worried about the defense.
Yeah.
The defense is actually pretty okay, but, yeah, I know. The Marvin Jones, I mean, it's like
it is what it is. Whatever
like
happens,
this.
happens.
It's like, hey, if you show up and you add something to the mix, that's great, but I'm not going to get my hopes up that you're bringing something massive to the plate just yet. I got to see you out there and actually doing it, and then I'll get my excitement levels up. But, yeah, a guy who's kind of a journeyman at this point, I just, wait and see and not get too up in arms over Marvin Jones that they're going to unlock all of that potential for him.
All right, more.
But Kendall Daniels, that's a really good pickup.
Yeah,
and
6'4", 240, so he's a hoss.
I do like that one. And in addition to Marvin Jones Jr., like I like that Venables is doing some things over on that side of the ball because they're not perfect over there by any stretch. But, yeah, I am far more worried about the offense finding itself under Arbuckle and John Mateer than a defense that was still pretty solid for the most part last year. I don't think that's going to really be a major concern for you with Brent Venables, but adding a couple big-time players potentially makes that side even better, and so that's great. But, again, I'll believe it when I see it with Jones. Daniels, though, watched a lot of him, and I don't know. That's a couple guys now in the last 2 or 3 years that have gone from Oklahoma State to Oklahoma, and I know that's just a weird feeling. It's just an icky sort of feeling, not so much for the player, obviously. That's probably pretty cool, but, as an Oklahoma State fan, I bet you're just feeling like your skin's crawling a little bit when you see guys go down to Norman. That's not ever fun to see that. Anywhere else but the Sooners, Kendall Daniels.
Yeah.
Like anywhere else, but you got to go to Oklahoma. All right, then. Good luck to you.
Yeah, that's got to bite a little bit, Kendall Daniels. Also, this young man, I don't know if he'll ever get a chance to play if he ever stays somewhere and actually does. Get a chance to play, but Jaden Rashada, this has been a weird story. And then again, maybe it's textbook these days. Committed to Miami, then went to Florida. Then there was the issue about whether or not he was ever promised or received his NIL. Then he transferred to Arizona State. Oh, how about a guy named Sam Levitt as the starting quarterback who's a freshman? Georgia, I don't know if he ever hit the field. And now he's in the portal again.
Yeah, that's it's unfortunate. Like, I don't want to judge him as a human being. I don't know anything about him. I know that his situation is he's kind of the first guy over the wall when it came to I was promised this. I believe I was promised this much at Miami. I signed it. I actually did sign with Florida and was promised as much, and I have it in writing. The coaches told me all this when I got there, and then it wasn't the right thing, so I left. So think of this. He leaves Arizona State after he started 2 games as a freshman and played in the third game, the first 2. And he looked okay. He looked pretty like he had a lot of potential. And then he goes to Georgia. Well, I thought he was the 3rd quarterback at Georgia. Turns out he was actually the 4th quarterback at Georgia. So he never saw.
Watching Gunnar Stockton, like he's got no like free pass to the job.
So there was a wall there. So I just hope that whatever choice he makes, he gets to play and tap into that potential because Arizona State didn't miss him. And I don't know that I don't think that's an indictment on him, but Sam Levitt came in and just kicked ass all year long. In fact, they lost the game in the Big 12 where they didn't have Sam Levitt. Otherwise, their season's it's not even a question if they're getting seeded in the playoff if they won that game against Cincinnati. So all of that being said, I just hope it works out the best for him. And I think that he's kind of the avatar for the things that do suck about the new world of college football, where there are good things. Cam Ward's a good thing. There are, Jared Verse, a good thing. There's lots of good things.
John Mateer is now probably a millionaire, so that's a great thing for guys like him.
But for a guy like Jaden Rashada, it sucks. And it's I don't know if it's his fault, if it's everybody's fault, but it sucks.
Well, the 2 of the 4 teams in the semifinals have quarterbacks, am I correct, that are transfers. Quinn Ewers, who was at Ohio State, went to Texas, and then, of course, I'm getting ready to go blank. Riley Leonard from Duke, thank you, Garrett, who's now at Notre Dame. Ohio State, 3 of the 4, with Howard, who's now there after being at Kansas State. So it's part of the game. It's part of the deal. But, man, this seems to be a lot of moving, and you wonder, are you running away from not being able to play because you're not good enough to play, or is it just such a free market that this is what we're going to see more often than not?
No, I think Jaden Rashada is the outlier, and he's the poster boy for what's wrong with the negative parts of the portal and the lack of rules and whatever else, the freedom of movement. I think we're all in favor of those things, not the lack of rules so much. We would like to see that corral just a little bit so it's not so chaotic and you don't have guys just aimlessly wandering around, which at this point is what it feels like Jaden Rashada's doing.
Yeah.
Like, I hope he actually has, like, earned class credits, like, that can travel, like – because at this point, honestly, he probably needs to worry about getting his degree. Yeah. Like, you probably need to, like, not just assume you're going to fall back and be a top 5 NFL draft pick like you probably thought when you started this journey. Don't know him. Nothing against the young man. He's young, and, you know, life's confusing and takes you in all sorts of different directions. But, my gosh, man, I just don't know how this is good for anybody. Like, I just don't know how bouncing around like this is good for anybody. And you bring up these transfer quarterbacks. Okay, Quinn Ewers was at Ohio State for a year. And he wasn't expected to start and didn't, and did his thing. And, you know, then when the opportunity came, which I wonder how much he was all planned out ahead of time. Not that he went to Ohio State thinking, I'm going to jump to Texas, but, like, I think he probably had a backup plan of, like, if this doesn't work out, I know what I can pivot towards. So he was there a year. Fine. Columbus wasn't for you anymore. Texas is a better opportunity. That's great. Riley Leonard carved out a pretty damn good career at Duke, and then decided with his remaining eligibility, I'm going to go give this another shot, and I'm going to go make some big money, and I'm going to go try to play for a national championship, and look at what the hell he's doing right now. Will Howard, pretty good damn career at Kansas State. Decided, I'm not done playing college ball, I'm going to go make some money, and I'm going to go play for a national championship. Worked out pretty well for him.
And
so those guys
had an idea he may not be the starter this year.
Do what?
Talking about Howard? He also had the Avery Johnson factor, too.
Yeah. I mean, there was that as well. But I'm just saying, like, these guys had played and done things, or in Ewers' case, he was somewhere for a spot. He was just there for a year, not even a year. With Rashada, he's bouncing around, 3 years, 4 schools or whatever. Like, this is entirely different from those guys' situations. This is the poster child for what's really not probably the healthiest for the sport or for these young guys. So good luck to him. I don't know where the next place will take him, but he's checking blue bloods and various playoff teams off the list. I mean, like a quarter of the playoff teams he's already played for, feels like. So, good luck to you. And I don't know where this takes him now, but interested to see nonetheless.
Dario Davis, who stayed last year at Arizona, there were thoughts he would leave. He's now headed to Washington to play for his former coach, Arizona State cornerback, 6'4", big, tall, lanky corner.
He played for Arizona, not Arizona State.
Did I say Arizona? Transferring now to where he is with his former coach at Washington.
Yeah, one of the guys that Arizona got to bring back despite Jed Fish leaving, and he felt really good about him and one of your stars. And bitter pill to swallow to see him now leaving as well and going to reconnect with Jed Fish. So, I don't know what the offseason holds for Arizona. I know that the media covered him. Our boy Jason Shear and, various others are not all that high on the Brent Brennan regime right now. And it doesn't help when you're losing. Now you won't even have Dario McMillan because he'll be off, as a first-round draft pick in the NFL here in a few months. And Dario Davis leaves. And so Noah Fafita's coming back, and there'll be some other guys, but, it's kind of like the Fresh Prince meme all of a sudden, but it's Noah Fafita looking around the room at all the guys that were there just a year ago. It's pretty much just almost feels like him now, and I don't know if he's capable of carrying the weight and what they'll need to get done next year to try and build a better situation than what we saw coming out of this year.
I am so surprised that he is still there.
I'm a little bit surprised, but he's man, every story you read about him, he is so loyal to Arizona. Like the whole Tedero McMillan even ending up there, and that whole contingent of high school guys that all played together and then all went to Arizona together. Like McMillan was committed to Oregon, and I think it was Jacob Manu or someone else was either uncommitted or committed elsewhere, and he was like the ringleader that got all those guys basically to Arizona eventually. So he has a deep love for that program. But I'm with you, Paul. Like, he could probably go make a lot of money somewhere else. He's not going to play in the NFL as a high-level player, if at all. He's not big enough. But in college, he can do some more damage with the right fit. I don't know if it's Arizona or not, but it's great for them that he decided to stay, because otherwise I don't know what you're really pointing to right now and all that excited about. And even with him coming back, you're still going, okay, but what else do we have here? So they have a lot of work to do to try and get back to the form from a couple seasons ago and put on a better showing than they did in this debut year in the Big 12.
The Branch brothers, Zachariah, who can flat out go. I remember watching him as a freshman. I don't exactly know who it was against, but this guy is a big play type of I'm not comparing him to anyone in particular, but he's got that quick twitch like a Tyreek Hill. Not saying that that's who he is. He's kind of more of a utility type guy, great returner. He is also, along with his brother, who is Zion, the safety, are headed to play for Kirby Smart and Georgia.
Yeah, that's a huge get for Georgia, and I talked about this earlier on the triple option, but I'm going to assume you guys are going to agree with me. Production over potential when the portal. If you want potential, that's your high school recruiting. If you want production, that's the portal, right? I know that this guy has put up numbers, and if you go for too much potential in the portal, you wind up going, oh damn. Well, yeah, I mean, they haven't produced yet. Are you surprised that they didn't produce? I know that you believe you can get out of, but the potential in the portal is, okay, let's have a couple of those. I use it's a buffet, the portal, right?
No, but if you're Georgia, you're going to get your potential, and a lot of that's more than potential.
In high school, right? Well, Zachariah Branch and his brother have produced. They've got stats. They've got skins on the wall, and you can see the speed, and you can see the things that Zachariah Branch has done. He's not leaving USC because he's unrealized talent and can't go anywhere else. He's leaving USC because he wants to, and so if he goes to Georgia, and they did not have those kind of playmakers this year. They're not playing this week because they didn't. And we're almost not playing in the playoff at all because they didn't. And you get a guy like Zachariah Branch that you can build that around, I think that'll work out well.
Yeah, I mean, Paul said they bring a lot of production, a lot of experience. And I think in the case of, was it Zion, after missing a couple years, cut short injuries, finally got to stay healthy this past season, so that's encouraging. But, yeah, it seemed like a nice little dynamic duo. Obviously, you got the brotherly chemistry and having played together a lot, but I think that'll carry over and make the transition even that much easier for the Branch brothers heading off together, right, to a new place. That'll make that transition a lot more fun and an experience I can only imagine not having a brother, but I think that'd be a pretty cool deal to be able to just, hey, let's go to USC and continue our playing day, or to USC, or no, to Georgia and continue our playing days after playing together at USC. That's just a cool little unique story. But yeah, talent-wise, Georgia's definitely adding some to what's an already pretty big, large, tall pile of talent, and re-gearing up for next year.
He had a kick and a punt return, both from each as a freshman. Didn't do anything really with that much last year on kicks and punt returns. Had 47 catches, 503 yards, 1 touchdown. As dynamic as he is, he hasn't really produced a lot when it comes to the plays. Like, he's averaging 10 yards per catch. And that's kind of what he's done. He doesn't get the ball in the running back position very often. So I don't know. I remember he was dynamic early on as his freshman year. We'll see what he can do with Kirby Smart and Georgia. Speaking of somebody that's moved around, former Boise State and USC 5-star quarterback Malachi Nelson is headed to play for Coach Walden at UTEP. Ranked as the #1 overall recruit in ESPN's class of 2023, and now headed and the most highly recruited athlete to ever step on the campus at UTEP as a football player.
Yeah, I hope he gets to play. Part of me, I feel bad for him. Look, the USC thing still doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but if he didn't want to be there, he didn't want to be there. And then he went to Boise State, and Maddox Madsen was the guy there. I mean, he just took over that job. He got him to the playoff, and he couldn't see the field. So I'm assuming at UTEP, he's got to have a leg up on the starting job.
How much does ESPN's class of 2023 rankings take a hit here?
Yeah.
I mean,
we should be following ESPN's recruiting class rankings anyways, and it shouldn't have been for years now at this point. I know some people that do work on that, no disrespect, but I think if you're looking for recruiting rankings and how much chalk you want to put into that to begin with, you don't start with ESPN's rankings. That's actually the last one you go to in recent years. I don't know if that's changed or not, but that's pretty much been the status quo, that you go to a 247 or a
Well, you know why they used ESPN here was because it's Stamble. That's where he works.
Yeah,
you're
so,
right
I mean,
about what you're saying.
but I don't even know why they do recruiting rankings over there still at this point. Like at one point, they were actually trying to compete and do it alongside rivals and even scout and all that. But I don't know many, if any, people that put all that much stock in the actual ESPN recruiting rankings. Like, I think they're just there as another form of reference and maybe part of another formula. But yeah, I don't think those are by any means the industry standard, or have been for a long time.
All right.
And by the way, Malachi Nelson, Jaden Rashada, Malachi Nelson. No, that's kind of the path he's walking a little bit. So that's cool for UTEP. El Paso's a great city and big city. So I'm sure there's an opportunity to make some good NIL money there if you do well for yourself. But yeah, you just hope at this point the guy can actually grab hold of a job and show off why he was so highly touted to begin with, because we haven't seen that yet. So yeah, a couple of quarterbacks now finding landing spots, and maybe Jaden Rashada needs to end up at a UTEP or somewhere along those lines. Maybe that would work out better for him. But yeah, I'm hoping for Nelson this is the last stop and he can flash his potential out there.